welcome to the deep dive. You know, it really wasn't that long ago when traveling felt a bit like, well, like a competitive sport.
Oh, totally. A complete race.
Right, we were all just exhausting ourselves, rushing through these massive sweeping checklists, trying to see, I don't know, 10 cities in 5 days?
And coming home needing a vacation from your vacation.
Exactly. But the way we travel has completely evolved, and honestly, thank goodness for that. Today, if you are planning a trip, you're probably looking for something entirely different. You want those meaningful, grounding experiences, things that actually make you feel present. And if you're looking ahead to 2026, there is one place on Earth that is really reinventing itself to offer exactly that.
That's the perfect way to frame it.
Yeah,
And
cool.
to figure out how to actually navigate this incredible destination, we've pulled together a genuinely diverse stack of sources for today's deep dive.
We really have.
Yeah, we're analyzing comprehensive 2026 travel trend reports, breaking announcements on new international flight routes, and some highly anticipated luxury hotel openings. But we're balancing that with meticulous budget guides, cultural festival calendars, and we even have a breaking astronomical news bulletin from SBS to share with you today.
So the mission of this deep dive is pretty simple. We want to completely shortcut your research. Think of this conversation as your masterclass on navigating Australia's 2026 travel renaissance. If you're staring at a map right now, feeling utterly overwhelmed by the sheer size of the country, take a breath. We are going to extract the exact details you need to travel smartly, avoid the heaviest crowds, genuinely hack the budget, and figure out how to experience both pure luxury and total hidden gems without just, drowning in an ocean of information.
Because it is an enormous country. And planning a trip there can easily become daunting if you try to do everything at once.
Oh.
But if you have the right strategy, it's easily one of the most rewarding places you could possibly visit.
Okay, let's unpack this. If we look at the macro trend from our Travel Rethink Ways source, they point out that in 2026, Australia is standing out globally because it offers three very specific things: space, sustainability, and soul.
Yeah.
It feels like the entire country is stepping back into the spotlight with a completely new grounded confidence.
It really is. And
Yeah.
understanding why this matters is crucial for how you map out your itinerary. Australia is aggressively transitioning toward conscious tourism. And we should be clear, this isn't just corporate greenwashing.
Right.
It's a fundamental shift in how you experience the landscape. For example, if you look at Tasmania right now, you'll find these incredible wilderness lodges operating entirely on renewable energy. They just sit unobtrusively right in the middle of UNESCO-protected forests. Or take a destination like Uluru. A decade ago, people just went to take a photo of a giant red rock. Now, you are encouraged to take part in Aboriginal-led walks, guided by the Anangu people. It connects you directly to tens of thousands of years of ancient land stewardship. You aren't just an observer anymore, you're actively participating in a very thoughtful way.
I love that shift from observing to participating. But here's where it gets really interesting. When you look at where people actually want to go to experience this, the data might surprise you. According to Webjet search data published in Time Out, Queensland is officially the #1 state Australians themselves are most excited to visit in 2026.
Which is funny.
Yeah, I would have guessed New South Wales or Victoria for sure.
Many people would. But we need to add a bit of nuance to that Queensland data. While the big hitters like Brisbane and the Gold Coast are always popular, especially with all the infrastructure development happening ahead of the 2032 Brisbane Olympics, the significant momentum right now is actually shifting slightly north, up to the Sunshine Coast.
So people are moving away from the glittering high-rises.
Exactly. Travelers are seeking out nature-led escapes, places like Maroochydore and Coolum Beach right on the water, or heading up into the lush hinterland to towns like Maleny and Montville.
Sounds beautiful.
It is. They offer a much quieter, welcoming charm compared to the heavy tourist hubs. And speaking of surprises, chilly Tasmania is coming in hot at #4 on that Webjet Trends list.
That's fascinating.
People are actively seeking out that wild, cooler, pristine environment over a traditional beach holiday.
Which brings up a logistical hurdle we absolutely have to talk about. Australia is roughly the size of the continental U.S.
Yep. Massive.
Getting from a tropical beach in Queensland down to a wilderness lodge in Tasmania takes some serious strategy.
It does. But the insight here is that Australia is radically decentralizing its tourism in 2026. You no longer have to funnel every single trip through a massive layover in Sydney or Melbourne.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, the U-Trip blog has outlined some exciting new flight routes launching that will completely change how you map your itinerary. It's the year of the direct-to-destination route.
That is a relief. What kind of new routes are we talking about?
Well, Qantas is launching direct flights from the Gold Coast to Auckland. Fiji Airways is connecting the Gold Coast directly to Nadi. If you're flying in from Europe, Finnair is starting a new connection from Melbourne to Helsinki via Bangkok.
Oh, nice.
Shortas is launching a direct flight from Melbourne to Colombo, Sri Lanka. And for the luxury seekers, Luxury Escapes is chartering direct flights from Melbourne straight to Malé in the Maldives. The global connectivity is just expanding rapidly.
That definitely opens up the map. But a flight doesn't do you any good if you arrive and the weather completely ruins your plans. Based on the Kui Tours guide in our stack, I'm assuming you can't just say, I'm going to Australia in August and expect the exact same weather everywhere.
Not at all. Because of its sheer size, there is no single best time to visit. You're dealing with dramatically different micro-seasons. So let's break down the key seasonal details you absolutely need to know.
Let's do it.
First, the tropical north. Places like Cairns and the Great Barrier Reef.
Yeah.
You must avoid their wet season, which runs from November to April.
Just how wet is the wet season?
We are talking 70 to 90% humidity,
Oh, wow.
potential cyclones,
Yeah.
and crucially, it is marine stinger season. You literally have to wear a full-body lycra stinger suit to protect yourself from box and irukandji jellyfish if you want to get in the ocean.
Okay, yeah. I don't think anyone wants to factor a neon, full-body, venomous jellyfish suit into their relaxing beach vacation wardrobe if they can avoid it.
Probably not the best look for the holiday photos.
Definitely not.
The optimal window there is definitely the dry season from May to October. And then you have the outback, which requires a very stern safety warning.
Right.
The outback summer, running from November to March, is not just uncomfortable. It is genuinely life-threatening. Temperatures routinely exceed 40 degrees Celsius, which is over 104 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wait, 104 degrees is the norm. How do people actually hike in that? Or do you just have to avoid it entirely?
You generally avoid strenuous activity completely. Heat stroke can happen in a matter of hours in that environment. The safe, comfortable window to explore the Red Center is really from April to September.
Canoe.
On a lighter note, if you're heading over to Western Australia, spring, which is September to November down there, is the prime time. You can see migrating whales offshore, and inland, there are over 12,000 species of blooming wildflowers. It is visually spectacular.
It really is all about timing the map correctly. So let's shift focus to where you're actually going to stay once you get that timing right. I was looking through this Time Out Hidden Gems list, and they based their rankings on places with really low Google search volume and a high degree of remoteness.
Yeah.
Their number one pick for 2026 is a place I've never even heard of, Dengar Island. What makes this place the top pick?
It's a fascinating choice because of the sheer contrast it offers. Dengar Island is just an hour north of Sydney, but it is completely car-free.
That sounds incredible. How do you even get there if there are no cars?
You take a train out to the Hawkesbury River, hop on a small wooden ferry, and suddenly you're dropped into this sleepy, tree-studded paradise. It has these beautiful, scenic walking trails, and at the center of the community is a super relaxed local RSL club. It feels a million miles away from the city traffic.
I have to ask, for our global listeners, what exactly is an RSL club?
Good point. RSL stands for Returned and Services League. They're essentially community veterans clubs, but they function as the social hub for many Australian towns. They're incredibly welcoming to visitors, serving up affordable drinks and classic pub food.
That sounds like the perfect grounding experience we were talking about earlier. The list also mentioned Mintaro in South Australia coming in at number 3. It's located in the Clare Valley wine region, and apparently the digital footprint is so low that visiting feels like literally stepping back in time.
What's fascinating here is the absolute duality available to you as a traveler. You can have that sleepy, off-the-grid secret, but 2026 is also an explosive year for the luxury hotel market, as detailed in RUSH magazine.
Right, the luxury side.
Exactly. We're seeing the highly anticipated arrival of Australia's very first Waldorf Astoria, opening right in Sydney's Circular Quay.
Oh, the views from Circular Quay are iconic. We're talking Opera House and Harbour Bridge right out your window.
Unmatched views. The Waldorf will feature over 200 rooms and a dramatic statement roof bar overlooking that entire harbour panorama. And this luxury boom isn't contained to Sydney. Down in Adelaide, you have the new Crystal Brook Sam opening, which will feature the city's first Alem Day spa.
Nice.
And up in Queensland, Noosa is getting Elysium, This is a wellness-focused retreat built where the old Sofitel used to be. They have dedicated wellness suites with private saunas, and they even provide you with a dedicated wellness concierge to tailor your daily rituals.
A wellness concierge. That is quite the pivot from eating a pup meal at the local veterans club. You really have to decide what kind of traveler you want to be on any given day.
Or embrace both.
Very true. So you've left your private sauna, or you've taken the ferry back from your car-free island. Let's dive into the 2026 cultural calendar, guided by the tailor. If you're looking for those big, sweeping milestone events, Sydney seems to be the place to anchor your trip.
Definitely.
You have the 50th anniversary of the Sydney Festival kicking things off in January. And then, stretching from late March into May, Handa Opera is staging the Phantom of the Opera entirely outdoors, right on the edge of Sydney Harbour.
Those are undeniable spectacles. But if you want to dig deeper, the indigenous cultural events are where you'll find something truly unique to this continent. A perfect example is Parchajima in Alice Springs.
I saw that in the notes. It's a light festival, right?
It is, but calling it a light festival almost undersells it. It is the only authentic Aboriginal light festival of its kind. Think of it as ancient oral storytelling translated through modern visual tech. They use cutting-edge projectors to cast immense, moving First Nations art directly onto the McDonnell Ranges.
Wow, and how old are those mountains?
Roughly 300 million years old.
That is just hard to comprehend.
It is. So you are watching tens of thousands of years of continuous culture illuminated against a 300-million-year-old canvas. It happens in April, which beautifully aligns with that safe weather window we discussed for the Outback.
Just imagining those ancient mountain ridges lit up under the night sky gives me chills.
It's a profound experience. There's also the Cairns Indigenous Art Fair in July, which has a major focus on First Nations-led art and ethical collecting. And this cultural depth extends seamlessly into the food scene for 2026.
Oh, the food.
You have hyper-local, farm-to-table dining exploding in coastal towns like Byron Bay, and incredible Aboriginal tasting menus up in Darwin that are bringing ancient foraging techniques directly into modern fine dining.
You know, eating a farm-to-table meal under the night sky in Byron Bay brings up another amazing point from our sources. If you happen to be looking up at that sky this coming Tuesday, there's a fleeting, immediate event happening that you can catch right now.
Yes, the Astronomical News Bulletin from SBS. There is a rare, total lunar eclipse, a blood moon that will be visible across the entire country.
The science behind this is so cool. I always thought a lunar eclipse meant the moon just went totally pitch black.
That's a common misconception. A lunar eclipse happens when the Earth passes directly between the sun and the moon, casting a gigantic shadow, known as the umbra, across the lunar surface.
But it turns this crazy, rusty crimson color instead of going dark. Why does it turn red?
Think of the Earth's atmosphere as a giant spherical lens. When the sun is hidden behind the Earth, its light still hits the edges of our atmosphere. The atmosphere filters out all the shorter blue wavelengths of light. The only light that makes it through, bending into the Earth's shadow and hitting the moon, is the longer red wavelengths.
That's amazing.
Essentially, you are seeing the projection of every sunrise and sunset happening on Earth at that exact moment, painted onto the moon.
That is beautifully poetic. How long do we actually get to watch this happen?
The phase of full totality is going to last exactly 58 minutes. And the best part is how accessible it is. You don't need a telescope or specialized gear. The experts emphasize that the absolute best way to view it is simply with the naked eye. Find a dark spot, let your eyes adjust, and take it in. If you miss it, the next global total lunar eclipse won't happen until 2028.
So what does this all mean for you practically? We've talked about wellness concierges flying across the globe and dining in the Outback. We need to bring this conversation back down to earth, specifically to your wallet.
Yes, we do.
Using the Simbi budget breakdown, let's look at the financial reality of hacking the 2026 budget. Because, let's be honest, Australia is notorious for draining bank accounts fast if you aren't prepared.
It absolutely can. The hard numbers from the Simbi guide lay the reality out very clearly. If you are a backpacker, staying in hostel dorms and cooking every single meal yourself, you need to budget about 60 to 95 Australian dollars a day.
Okay, that's doable. What if I want my own room, but I'm not looking for five-star luxury?
For a mid-range traveler staying in budget hotels or standard Airbnbs, mixing grocery shopping with eating out at casual spots, you're looking at $165 to $265 a day. And if you're going for that Waldorf Astoria or Elysium luxury tier, expect to spend $400 to $700 a day, minimum.
That's quite a jump.
Location plays a massive role, too. Sydney is the most expensive city by far, whereas a vibrant city like Adelaide is roughly 20 to 30% cheaper across the board.
Just to put that in perspective for everyday items, a basic pub meal is going to cost you around $20 to $25. A pint of beer is easily $10. Those mid-range numbers can creep up on you quickly. So how do you actually hack this to stretch your budget?
Our sources provide some very specific, actionable hacks. First, for food, skip the tourist-heavy waterfront restaurants and head back to those local RSLs we mentioned, or the local lawn bowling clubs.
Lawn bowling clubs, like
Yeah,
where people play bowls on the grass.
exactly. Just like the RSLs, they operate as community hubs. They often have amazing dinner specials, like a $12 to $18 Parma and pint deal.
And a parma is
Chicken Parmigiana. It's an absolute staple of Australian pub culture. A breaded chicken breast topped with tomato sauce, ham, and melted cheese, usually served with chips and salad. It's filling and affordable.
sounds delicious.
It is. And if you're doing your own grocery shopping, seek out an Aldi supermarket. It is consistently 10 to 15% cheaper than the major Australian grocery chains, which are Coles and Woolworths.
That's a great tip for the daily expenses. What about getting around? If things are so spread out, those domestic flights or long train rides must add up.
Transport requires some creativity. If you are up for driving, look for vehicle relocation deals. Rental companies constantly need cars, and camper vans move between major cities, say, from Melbourne up to Brisbane.
Right.
Instead of paying drivers, they will often rent the vehicle to you for literally $1 a day just to get it moved. It dictates your route, but it solves your transport and sometimes accommodation budget in one move. If you prefer not to drive, look into Greyhound's Wimmet passes, which give you unlimited hop-on, hop-off bus travel for long distances.
Okay, transport and food are covered. Now let's talk about your phone. I imagine landing after a 15-hour flight and just turning on your data roaming is a bad idea.
It is a critical budget killer. Roaming charges from your home carrier can easily cost you $10 to $20 a day. Over a 2-week trip, that is hundreds of dollars wasted just to use Google Maps. The budget guide heavily advises grabbing a digital eSIM before you even pack your bags.
How does that work in practice?
It's entirely digital. For example, a Simbi eSIM starts at just $3, and it runs on the Optus and Telstra networks, which are the two largest telecom providers in Australia. You download the profile before your flight, and you have immediate connectivity the second your plane touches down. No waiting in long, exhausting airport queues to buy a physical plastic SIM card.
And you definitely need that data to navigate the outback roads or translate a menu in a hidden Melbourne laneway. Finally, we can't forget the boring but essential administrative stuff visas.
This is vital because entry requirements have tightened for 2026. Australia has introduced strict new financial capacity checks for tourist visas to ensure travelers can actually support themselves during their stay.
So you can't just apply from your phone in the departure lounge anymore.
Definitely not. You need to apply well in advance. For many global travelers, an ETA, which is an electronic travel authority, costs 20 Australian dollars. Alternatively, the visitor visa, which is a similar electronic authorization, remains free for European Union citizens. But do not leave this until the last minute because the screening process is much more rigorous now.
It is a lot to consider. Between stinger suits, 300-million-year-old light shows, and downloading eSIMs, the planning is intense. But it sounds so incredibly worth it.
It truly is. If we synthesize everything we have looked at across these sources today, doing Australia right in 2026 requires balancing a very specific duality. You have to balance the raw, unpredictable extremes of its ancient landscapes, the tropical humidity, the outback heat, the vast distances, with highly modern, highly strategic travel planning. You have to know exactly when to seek out a luxury wellness concierge in Noosa and when to respect the brutal, humbling reality of an outback summer.
Beautifully said. It's about being smart with the logistics so you can actually be present for the magic. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this conversation has shortcut your planning, eased the overwhelm, and given you the exact tools you need to experience the absolute best of Australia in 2026.
Before you go, consider the profound paradox of time you experience on a trip like this. You are using a $3 digital eSIM and meticulously planning an itinerary down to a 58-minute lunar eclipse window, just so you can stand in front of 300-million-year-old mountain ranges and connect with tens of thousands of years of continuous Aboriginal culture. When you travel across such vast, incomprehensible scales of ancient time, how does it alter your everyday perspective of the ticking clock when you finally return home?